Question. I don't always ask this, but with you, our resident self-described ghoul, who spends a lot of time really thinking about death and spirits and things. What do you think happens when we die? What are you looking forward to upon death?
I
Maybe
wish that I knew. You know, it's funny. What?
so maybe not looking forward to
What am I
anticipate.
looking forward to? I'm looking forward to being my own ghost. No, I'm looking forward to haunting you quite specifically. You'll be right in the middle of a podcast and I'm going to pull that book off the shelf. No, I don't know. I think this is another thing that has changed so much about me from when I was young, you know, because I grew up in a very religious household where there really wasn't a lot of question for anyone about what happened to a person when they died, right? Like that was something that was just ingrained in me. I knew what was going to happen to all of us when we died. But I also think that at that age, I didn't really have the opportunity to explore any ideas of my own. And so over the years, I don't know if I want to say that I've like broadened the way I look at things, but I really think that I have. I don't necessarily know the answer to your question, but I do think there is something after. I just don't know what it is. I feel like it's probably good. I feel like this is I don't know if I want to say temporary, right? But like it does kind of connect to this idea of ghosts and like a person being a ghost or a spirit who could communicate with people. Are they in some sort of middle space? Are they actually someone who can't find peace, right? And this is something that my characters grapple with as well, because death is a kind of a scary thing, right? And writing this into middle grade, I have to be careful with the way it's approached. Some young readers will not have experienced death by the time they pick up one of my books, right? And so I want to be very careful with what I'm insinuating about it and how I'm portraying the ghosts and why they are ghosts. I know this is all very vague, but that's because it is, even at my age, very vague in my mind. And I think I've finally come to the conclusion that that's okay, that it's okay to not have the answers. It's okay to not know everything. And for me, for someone like me, who's very type A, to say that is an effort, because I like to have a plan. You know, Lindsay likes to know what she's doing in the morning, in the afternoon, at night, and after death, right? That is just like the kind of person that I am. But I do think in this case, this is one of those things that I have to accept that I just don't know. And that's okay.
I love you looking at your empty suitcase. How do I pack for the afterlife?
Right. What should I do about this? Will it be, what's it going to be like? Hopefully there's no snow.
You know, I've gone all over the map in terms of what I think might happen. I flirted with atheism for a while because all the smartest people I know are atheists. I'm like, I want to be smart. And I think that you just shut down and everything goes away and you don't have to worry about anything anymore is actually the most optimistic version of what happens when you die. Like, oh, no problem. It's all done. No problem. Whatever I was worried about, no sense worrying about it now. It's gone. But I become more and more suspicious of reality. I've just seen and felt too many weird things. Like, yeah, there's something going on here. I don't know if it's all a simulation, but there's something about reality that I'm not quite 100% buying that makes me think that, nope, there's probably some kind of afterlife as well. When I talked with Amy Christine Parker, another wonderful horror author, she and I agreed that part of what had originally set us toward the path of horror was that religious upbringing, that constant focus on what's going to happen when you die. Think about death. If you died tomorrow, where would your soul go? Do you find that to be true for you as well?
It could be. I mean, when I say that I had a religious upbringing, I was in church 5 days a week. It was a very intense religious upbringing, and there was a very, very, very strong focus on the afterlife, and also on the concept really of a very stark heaven and hell. And I think that those things definitely shaped me. I know for a fact they made me afraid, when I was a kid. You know, it was a very fire and brimstone kind of approach, right? And so possibly, because I do think I remember, for some reason, the idea of ghosts being somewhat taboo in church. Now, I don't know if this is across the board. I definitely consider myself a bit more atheist now, since we're kind of on that route. But, and, you know, being a kid who was interested in ghosts, that didn't really jive with my personality, right? Like, I think it would have been something that I would have preferred being able to ask about and get some honest answers, rather than we don't ask those kinds of questions, which is how a lot of things were shut down. So yeah, it's very possible that growing up in an environment where, a lot about the afterlife was just kind of told to you, and you were to accept that and to not question anything else, could very much have made me want to explore alternatives, and what it means when you're gone from this place. You know, what other realms could there be? And you mentioned the word simulation, which genuinely does frighten me. I can't remember the name of the show. Love, Death, and Robots is a show on Netflix that, you know, I certainly wouldn't recommend for everyone, depending on the age group who's watching this. However, there was an episode that featured a simulated reality that was terrifying. I thought absolutely terrifying, horror in a different way, not ghosts, but really, really scary. So I found it interesting that you mentioned that.
Let me check that out. Which episode is that?
I don't remember, but after the podcast, I will look it up and send you the title of it, because sometimes the titles don't necessarily help you find what episode it is. The show is very odd. It is completely animated, but it's different forms of animation. So, you know, when you watch one episode, the next one may look very different. Some of them are like very realistic, almost like the most realistic looking video game you can imagine. And some of them are more straight up cartoony. It's hard to explain, but some of the concepts are really, really interesting. There's another one about a giant that washes on the shore, and that one is very much about death and afterlife, and washes ashore in a small town. You might want to watch that one as well. It was really interesting.
I'll check it out. I always want people to tell me specific episodes, or if you tell me the show gets good by season 2 or 3, man, there's so much television, I'll never get to it.
I know. Well, the one about the giant, I think, was called The Giant, or The Drowned Giant. So that one, I remember the name of that. The other one I can't remember, but I'll come up with it.
But I've got more an endless amount of questions about ghosts. I'm fascinated by the idea of being an atheist now, but still very interested in the afterlife. Because what freedom? You don't have any particular religious constraints that you're not allowed to think these thoughts because they're forbidden. You can explore and go anywhere you want.